All right, everyone. Well, we have a long text today for today's daily dose of the word, but I will say this. It's a long text, but there's only one main point I want to drive home. So we're going to work through it, read through it, and then we will talk about it. So starting off here in verse 16. When evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into a boat, and started across the sea to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. The sea became rough because of a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and coming near the boat, and they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they were glad to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at land to which they were going. On the next day, the crowd that remained on the other side of the sea saw that there had been only one boat there, and that Jesus had not entered the boat with his disciples, but that his disciples had gone away alone. Other boats from Tiberias came near the place where they had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. So when the crowd saw that Jesus was not there, nor his disciples, they themselves got into the boats and went to Capernaum seeking Jesus. When they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, "Rabbi, when did you come here?" Jesus answered them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you are seeking me, not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give to you. For on him God the Father has set his seal." Then they said to him, "What must we do? What must we do to be doing the works? What must we do to be Oh my goodness, sorry. What must we do to be doing the works of God?" Jesus answered them, "This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent." So they said to him, "Then what sign do you do that we may believe and that we may see and believe you? What work do you perform? Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat." Jesus then said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, it was not Moses who gave you the bread from heaven, but my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." They said to him, "Sir, give us this bread always." Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. But I said to you that you have seen me, and yet you do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me I will never cast out. For I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of him who sent me, that I should lose nothing of all that he has given me, but raise it up on the last day. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who looks on the Son and believes in him should have eternal life, and I will raise him on the last day." So the Jews grumbled about him because he said, "I am the bread that came down from heaven." They said, "Is not this Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How does he now say, 'I have come down from heaven'?" Jesus answered them, "Do not grumble among yourselves. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him in. And I will raise him up on the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they will all be taught by God. Everyone who has heard and learned from the Father comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father except he who is from God. He has seen the Father. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, and they died. This is the bread that comes down from heaven, so that one may eat of it and not die. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he will live forever, and the bread that I will give for the life of the world is my flesh. Life of the world is my flesh." The Jews then disputed among themselves, saying, "How can this man give us his flesh to eat?" So Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. For my flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me, and I in him. As the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so whoever feeds on me, he also will live because of me. This is the bread that came down from heaven, not like the bread that the fathers ate and died. Whoever feeds on this bread will live forever." Jesus said these things in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. So again, just one main point that I want to drive home for you all today, and it comes kind of in this last section right here. Right, verse 58, "This is the bread that comes down from heaven, not like the bread the fathers ate and died. Whoever feeds on this bread will live forever." So the big point to take away from this text, and it's obviously a little bit confusing as we see, Jesus is not physically talking about his flesh and his blood, more so in a symbolic sense, saying what sustains us, right? When we talk about what sustains us in life, how we survive, we look to water and we look to bread. Those are two necessary components for us to eat and for us to drink in order for us to survive. And so the point that Jesus is driving home is he's saying you need those two things in order to survive on a daily basis. They sustain you, but they don't sustain you forever. They don't sustain you for eternity, right? The bread that their fathers received, the physical bread that they received, they ate, but they still died. Now Jesus is saying, I am the bread of life. I am the bread that supersedes this time and goes into eternity. You must depend on me to gain eternal life. And so my encouragement, my question, my application for you all today would be this. How much are you depending on God to sustain you? How much are you depending on God to sustain you? How much contentment are you finding in Him? If He is not our source of a life, if He is not our water, if He is not our bread, right, and we are depending on things that waste away and will ultimately not save us, right, will not ultimately save us from death, then we are depending far on the wrong things. Right? We need to be depending more on Jesus. And this has to be every single day, every single moment, step by step, day by day process that we're constantly turning back and depending on God as the bread of life. So think about that. Where does Jesus stand in your day and how much are you depending on Him? I guarantee you're not depending on Him enough, just as I know I'm not depending on Him enough. And so I need to strive to do better in that area. But a great text for us to look at today, especially in the context in which it was originally written, right? We obviously have a far diverse selection of foods that we can enjoy now, but bread was a staple food back in biblical times. And so the emphasis truly is on Jesus not just being something that is convenient, but more so something that is necessary. So I hope this encourages you all today. I look forward to seeing you all soon in person, hopefully. And until then, we will keep plugging along. All right, have a good one. Bye.